really is that easy, and it's actually a pretty easy technique to do surf fishing for gummies if you just get a few things right. Now, as you know, surf beaches are absolutely everywhere, so this actually isn't a talk on land-based fishing for gummy sharks. It's purely about fishing for them on surf beaches. And the cool thing about that is there's more surf along the Australian coastline or the southern coastline than what there is anything else. So this is really different to, say, fishing for them land-based in Port Phillip Bay or Western Port Bay, where some different things apply. Pretty much anywhere you go, and most places I've gone to target gummy sharks in the surf, I've caught them. It's not that hard to do. So it requires a little bit of specialised gear, but pretty much any surf beach is going to have gummy sharks on it, and a lot of them. It's just a matter of getting them to take your bait. Now, as Brendan just said, for me, January to May is probably the best time to fish for them. So right now up until May, and May itself has actually been my best month. I can tell you now that my mum hates me for it. That's Mother's Day, that's Mother's Day, that's Mother's Day, that's Mother's Day, and that one's Mother's Day. That one isn't. So I don't know what it is. It does sometimes coincide with the moon, and I'll get into a little bit about that, but May is my time. The one on the flyer was in February, but I've caught them in January too. But it's something I generally do when it gets a bit colder, snapper season's over. Fishing in Victoria, the truth of it is we don't have it that great in Victoria. There's not that many species to target. And when those seasons die, this is something you can do, but it's an all-round year prospect. So the thing you move into after the wear, and the best thing I can say about the wear is follow the surfers is a really good way to go. Anything you know that's a good surf break is going to be a good spot for gummies. So if you know guys that surf or you know good surf beaches, that's a good place to start. And pretty much, I don't know, any surf beach you've been to, you can essentially do this. Now, moving into the when, aside from time, the things that you really should focus on is the moons. Now, I like a full moon and I like a new moon. I actually haven't found, you can split those down the middle, those fish there as to which were full moons and which were new moons. So work both, but work them not on the actual full moon and not on the new moon. I'll get into that a bit soon too. You want to go probably about 3 days to before or 3 days after the new moon. Okay, this is pretty hard for you to see here, but moon, tide and a big swell are the three things that all need to work together for you to do this. The only thing that's actually going to change that you couldn't plan out from today for the next year is the swell. The moon and the tide you're going to be able to look at. Now the tide I like to work is the high tide. I don't like fishing the low tide. I like fishing the high tide 2 hours before. I basically won't cast my bait in any time before the 2 hours before the high tide, and then I'll fish for 2 hours after. Anything outside of that 4 hour period, I pretty much start getting depressed if I haven't caught a fish and it's over. I actually don't think I've ever caught one outside of that 2 hour period, and the 2 hour lead up is the best time. Now, the thing about the big swell, does everyone here know sea breeze and use sea breeze? Yeah, that's why I put this here. As you can see, this is a recording that I've just taken from this week today, actually. I don't like any of these swells here. I like this wind, but the swell's not going with it. I generally be looking for a swell that's sitting around this line here, which is kind of that 2 to 3 metre swell. So it's not a comfortable form of fishing. This is kind of what you want the beach to look like. Now, a lot of people think that, let's say we're talking about the mornings of the beach, but blowing northerly, you have that nice, calm, natural water. You never get caught sharks in that kind of water. It's a deeply frustrating trip to realise the only time we catch them is when it gets big and rough. It will get to a point where it's too big, or it's too rough, and you can't fish it purely because you can't hold a bait and sink it in the water. But you're looking for pretty much something that looks just like this. Now, we'll go back to here. What you want to do is kind of time, obviously these are half moons, but you kind of want to time that full moon, new moon period, get it coinciding with the big swell, and I only fish for them at night. I've never caught one during the day, and I've tried quite a few times, but you're always looking at night fishing. Sorry about my ridiculous face here. I had the flu when I caught this fish, and it was really hard to hold up. So you're looking for that big swell, you're looking for those moons, 3 days either side. And you want to coincide that with a good night time light. That was a ridiculous time. I was a bit younger there, and I didn't mind going down at all hours in the morning. But pretty much, sometimes you're only going to get all these conditions coming together, and the high tide might fall at 2 a.m. so you start fishing at 12. It's a weekend, you can do it if you're into that kind of thing. Sometimes you'll get it at 10 o'clock, you can start at 8 o'clock or something like that. But like I said, you can pretty much look through your tide chart and your calendars and your moons. You can plan all that now, and you can just wait and hope that there's going to be a big swell. Good thing is, it generally is pretty rough, and you generally do get that big swell. That's probably the least, of all your concerns. So tying those three together. Now the reason why I say don't do it on a, I think I might have got a chart here to show you. Yes, okay, here we go. The reason why I said don't do it just on the full moon and just on the new moon is because what you get is extreme tides. So you probably can't see this from here, but if you look over here at the Monday, you're going from a low of 0.18 to 92. So you've got a tide variance of around 80 centimetres. That's not really ideal, although you can fish it, and I'll get into the reasons why in a minute. What would be more ideal is something like this one here, where it's going from 0.42 to a 9.3. So you've got a small tide variance. So any of you that have maybe fished Western Port for gummy sharks or something like that in your boat, know that when you've got a screaming tide like that and you've got a huge variance, it's pretty much impossible on a surf beach to hold your sinker on the bottom. Has anyone here had trouble holding a bait or a sinker on the bottom when surf fishing? Yeah. So the biggest issue is when you're surf fishing is getting your bait out to where the fish are going to be and then holding it there. I'm sure everyone's experienced that issue where your bait comes back onto the sand. So what this is doing by fishing a small variance in tide, coinciding that with obviously the moon. The moon's not that essential. It's better. You don't have to just fish those moons. Small tide variance and a big swell. Now, how that all works and why that all works is basically my theory. I'm happy for anyone to kind of tell me any other theories they may have or reasons that they think. Good beaches for gummies have these steep inclines here. This is Gummy Beach, both these images, everyone know this beach. Never caught a gummy or fished for gummies in this beach, but it's a good example. When you get these big steep inclines like this, what you're getting is a shallow gutter that runs through. So when you're looking for a good beach to fish, you don't want something that's really flat. Essentially, if you look at these beaches or you watch a surfer walk into them, he'll walk in with his board, and as soon as he steps over the sand, he's pretty much up to here. You're not always going to get that shallow gutter that runs along here, but what you're getting is a beach that holds lots of water. Now, when you mix that big swell and that big tide together with a steep incline on the beach, you get a whole heap of water. The swell's pushing the water in. You've got gutters potentially there. Gutters might run a bit further back, or you've got holes. As you can see, there's 2 holes here, and that means that the gummies can come in and feed on their favourite prey, which is crabs. If you fish a low tide, you basically don't have the casting distance with standard surf gear to get out there. So when you fish the high tide, you've got that big swell and that big tide that's pushing the water up. You can easily get your bait into water where gummy sharks are going to be. Took us a while to figure out, maybe 5 to 6 years why we did so well in those conditions, and the thing we realised was that surge. This is probably not even at the top of the tide. There's been times where I've been fishing up on the ledge and casting down to keep, basically, from my stuff getting wet and my gear getting wet. So you really want to fish it when it's pushing up. You'll get to that point where the tide reaches the highest, where you get that slack water, and all of a sudden it settles. You'll kind of watch your rod constantly moving. You'll watch your line swaying a little bit, then it'll stop, and that's often when you get hit. So as it's all surging up, it's where the gummies are going to come up and feed, and they hopefully find your bait. Once you've got kind of all those conditions together, you're looking for, again, this is going to matter. I've chosen this because it's a popular beach and I can rip these pictures off the internet. This is an aerial shot of Gummy Matter, again, the same beach we were just looking at. You can jump on Google Earth and you can see these beaches. Now, all these beaches cop a massive Southern Ocean county, and they do change. They change to the point that the spots that I've fished, that I've been there on days where there is rock for 200 metres sometimes, and the next time I go there, there's sand this high. The holes move, but the gutters generally don't. You can all look from here and see, you fish there, there's one place in there, I wouldn't really fish that for gummy, but it might be good for salmon. And then again over here, you've got this nice deep water here. So there's 2 things you're looking for. You're looking for either a gutter, right, which you could call this a gutter. It runs along and it comes back out. And the way that I like to think of it is, The sharks are coming in from deeper water and they're following these gutters all the way in, picking up the crabs. These kinds of areas here that you can see where there's that blue wall. Everyone here knows how to read a gutter or a hole in the surf. If you don't, say so, because the best thing about fishing is to ask questions. But essentially what you're looking for is blue water where the waves aren't breaking. Where the wave's broken, it's obviously hit sand. Where it hasn't is where you've got that nice deep water. So what you're looking for is a place that you can actually cast to. I'll talk about the gear and the casting and that sort of thing, but there's no point having your bait where it's going to be washed back up to shore or it's just not in water. You don't want to be fishing in that white water or on that sand where it's too shallow. Gummies are pretty stealthy, they want a lot of nice water cover over them, so they're going to be looking for that water. So basically, you can find this stuff anywhere on any surf beach in Victoria, Tasmania, right up into New South Wales. They're absolutely everywhere. You just need to look for those things. Don't ever think about, do they catch gummies here? Is this a gummy spot? Has anyone ever caught them here? The main beach that I fish, I've never ever seen anybody fish there. And it's 90 minutes out of Melbourne. Part of the reason is that people are lazy and there's a bit of a walk, but another part of the reason is that it's just not known as a fishing beach. It's just a beach where surfers go. Plenty of surfers there, never really fishing. So there's miles and miles of this kind of beach where you can go and you won't see another soul.
Do you do your recon? Sorry, do you do your recon during the day? Like, would you check it out beforehand to see where your gutters are? Because at night, obviously,
yes,
you can't see this.
That's a really good thing that was on my notes.
Sorry.
No, you're right. No, thanks for mentioning it. Yeah, recon during the day is a really good way to go. We've got a lot of peninsulas here in Victoria on the west and on the eastern side, so one thing that you can do, that I do, so drive down, I check it out, see where the gutters and the holes are. You can actually see them at night. If you're fishing a full moon and you take your torch off, kind of close your eyes, wait about 30 seconds, you'll be able to see like it's daylight. When you're out on these surf beaches, there's no lights around. It's completely dark and the moon and the stars, you see shooting stars on off, it's really bright. You will be able to see them. But if you can get down and do recon, it's a good idea, especially if you go to a new beach so you can learn the track and where it gets to. Go down and check them out. And the other thing that you really need to check for is this. Weed is evil. Absolutely ruins everything. I've seen this here in Victoria, not the truck, but I've seen weed that high. It's amazing to see. Literally up to here I'll be covering the whole beach. This is what you'll get after, those big storms that we've had recently. You'll get things like this on those surf beaches. And you're absolutely stuffed. It's the best fight a lot of reel will ever have, a 50 kilo pump of weed. But yeah, if you pretty much see, like imagine that chunky bit's not there. If you even see this much here, it's going to be really thick in the water. So the other thing to do is while you're looking for those high winds that are like, we're talking 20 knots, you're not looking to go the day after it's been well 35, 40 knots and been absolutely crazy and houses, falling down from trees falling on them. You know that this is